Let's talk credit cards and finance charges. Now, with credit cards, we have some pros and cons, and I think it's important to kind of just talk about those real quick. So with pros, one, you don't have to carry cash, which that may or may not be a pro, but for me, that's a pro. It allows you to kind of have time to pay off things, right? So if you need to buy a washing machine and you put it on a credit card, that credit card bill might not be due for 4 or 5 weeks. So it gives you some time to save up. So there are definitely some pros. And then you could talk about, the rewards, whether it's points or airline miles or any kind of rewards that come with credit cards. So those can also be pros. Now, the cons can be a little bit bigger when they exist. So a con could be, high interest rates are one. A lot of credit cards have very high interest rates, and those interest rates really only get to you if you don't pay off your balance. So it's easy to get into debt, which is another con, because credit card companies make it so easy. Your credit card bill is $3,000 and they're like, your minimum payment is $70. And you're like, this is amazing. But those high interest rates cause a lot of different fees and extra penalties that you have to pay. So if you're not careful, you can really dig yourself a hole in not paying off your balance every month. So here's the thing. If you pay your balance in full every month, then credit cards can be a very good thing. If you don't pay your balance, that's when you get into finance charges, you get into different fees, different penalties, depending on your credit, the scope of the card and everything else. So a few different pros and cons. If you use credit cards correctly, it's not a bad thing. All right, so let's talk about some different pieces of this. Now, when we talk about interest, if you think about saving money, interest is what they pay you. But when you are using a credit card, you are borrowing money. So when they charge you interest, we call that a finance charge. So really in credit cards, the interest is the finance charge that you pay. And this is on the unpaid balance of the card. Sometimes I call this the carryover balance, because when you make a payment on your credit card, it's any of the balance that you do not pay. That is what the finance charge is applied to. And that finance charge is the interest that you pay. It's a percentage of that balance. That is the interest. And this is like an additional fee. So you pay back what you borrowed and the interest. If you pay your balance off in full, it's an interest-free loan. It's when you don't pay your balance off that you have this. Now, the interest and finance charge is based on the APR, which is the annual percentage rate. So you might see them as 15.99%. I don't know that many go below like 11.99%, maybe. But they can go as high as 29.99% on credit cards. And that's a high interest rate, right? People talk about, cars or houses, and your interest rate is maybe 3, 4, 5%. Look how much bigger these are. So that's why it's so easy to get into debt so quickly, because these interest rates are just so high. So let's calculate the finance charge on a credit card balance of $1,000 with an APR of 16.99%. Now, when we pay credit card balances or credit card payments, we pay those monthly, right? Every month we have a payment. So this is an annual percentage rate. We need to change that to monthly because we are making monthly payments. So how do you go from annually to monthly? And this is with anything. You divide by 12. So to find the finance charge, we are going to take the balance, so the carryover balance, times the APR divided by 12, because it's the annual percentage rate and we got to change it to monthly. So for our example here, we have a balance of $1,000 times, we change that percent to a decimal and divide by 12. You can add that into your calculator just like that. 1,000 times 0.1699 divided by 12, and your finance charge is $14.16. All right, so now let's kind of do a little piece here. So generally, because nothing is perfect here, but generally the higher your credit score, the lower your APR, which is why credit scores are important. So we're going to use the same carryover balance, $1,650, for all four. Let's just say we have 4 people in 4 different credit score areas so that we can find the monthly finance charge. So what we're going to do, again, we're going to take the balance times the APR divided by 12. So in the first one, we've got 1650 times 0.1199 divided by 12. So our interest, or our monthly finance charge here, is $16.49. If we go to the next one, we're going to have 1650 times, again, change your percent to a decimal, so 0.1599 divided by 12. So our person in the good credit would have a finance charge of $21.99. Then we get into our fair credit, so we would take 1650 times 0.1999 divided by 12, and there's a finance charge of $27.49. Last but not least, our bad credit, so we take 1650 times 0.2499 divided by 12, and our finance charge there would be $34.36. So this is in addition to the remaining balance you have. Now let's look at that last question. What is the difference in the monthly finance charge between the highest and lowest APR? Well, the highest APR gave us a finance charge of $34.36, and our lowest APR gave us a finance charge of $16.49. So when I subtract those, the difference is $17.87. That is just the additional payment. So think about just how much money you could save by having good credit. Now that's, again, if you're carrying over a balance. The easiest way to save the most money is by to pay your balance off in full. And I understand it's not always easy to do that, or possible, frankly. But the more you can pay, right, the lower your carryover balance, the less you're going to pay in interest. So just something to keep in track. Think about that as well.